Hello, and in this video I am going to talk about what writing is. Basically my favourite topic, so that's nice. In particular, we're going to be thinking about why you as a student might be doing writing wrong, or you're not doing it as effectively as you can be. The reason for this is that there is actually a big misunderstanding around what writing actually is, and that comes down to this. Writing is about the least important part of producing an assignment. Okay? That seems bizarre because, my job is academic writing coach. There's a whole thing called academic writing, writing skills, and they're very important, and you get graded on them a lot. But it's because there's a confusion about the meaning of the word writing. Writing has got lots of different stages. When your tutors are talking about writing, they're including things like research comes under it, paraphrasing, summarizing, quoting, drafting, redrafting, editing. All of that counts as writing, and a million other stages. There are so many things that come under what we call writing an assignment. However, there is also, so there's that, writing, but part of writing is another little thing also called writing. I have described here a few stages of writing. Research and thinking. Thinking happens all the time, obviously, but we do some research first. Then we get into the writing. Then we get into the editing. And these are distinct stages, even if students typically treat these as one thing. They will often try to get to the finished product, i.e. do the research, the thinking, the writing and the editing in one sitting. You're there looking at your computer screen and you're going to try and do it in one go. So what does this look like? I'm just going to quickly go through an example of what this type of approach to writing looks like, and you can see if there's any similarities in what you are doing. If you're not so interested in the example, if you skip ahead maybe 2 minutes, you'll get past that point and you can get to whatever. You'll get to my main point or my main argument. But for the rest of us, let's go on our journey. I'm going to set the scene. It's first year of university. There I am, Jonathan Denham, sitting, thinking about Shakespeare. Actually, this is the wall of my office right now. This is very similar actually to what the wall of my room looked like in university, with some pictures and some of my own bits of poetry and writing and that sort of thing. So there I am. I'm about to write about Shakespeare. And I'm just going to throw down a sentence. When Shakespeare writes, blah, 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 he is commonly expressing anger because this kind of language is commonly used to show, da, 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 da. I was an English literature student. And I've said this thing and I've written it out. And what I'm thinking is I need a reference. So I've just written this, and now I'm going to go and do that. I'm going to spend half an hour looking up that reference. And oh my God, I spend all this time, but I don't find a reference. So I think to myself, crap, I need to back up this point. What am I going to do? I know. I'll just search on Google for Shakespeare and anger and see if that quotes like a passage from another sonnet or another play, and I can say that there's a similarity. So I get online, I search for it, and I go, oh yes, commonly used to show, I find some evidence. And as I was doing that, I noticed something between another sonnet and this one. And I can say, the language is also similar to the sonnet 221, there aren't that many, in which he writes, love is... da, 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 da. And in writing that sentence, I've realised that actually I'm saying something slightly different. I'm now talking about love, and I noticed that there is passion, there's this sort of physical attraction thing, there's this love thing going on. So the language of love and anger, therefore, can be said to be similar. Okay, then I'm going to do another reference here. Oh, and I actually find one. I find Blenkinsop, 2007, who said something similar to the language of anger and love being similar. Right, okay. What Blenkinsop was saying, though, was that physical attraction is often described in these terms. And I go, right, often described, and I want to say, in Shakespeare's writings, and in fact in modern English. So what I've just been doing is a mixture of doing the research, coming up with my ideas, and trying to edit my sentences all at the same time. And what this is actually left with, although it may not look like a terrible paragraph, is actually a really disorganized paragraph, where I start off talking about anger, I come up with a random link to some other play, which it's not really in depth at all, it's not really explained, I just sort of say it. I've also then come up with another piece of evidence which is almost completely unrelated. It's now talking about love. I then have this idea, this interesting idea, that language and love and anger, the language of love and anger can be said to be similar. I then move on to physical attraction, because that's actually what Blenkinsop was talking about. And I've wasted time trying to get the specificity of it to do with modern English. And down here, I've moved on to talking about descriptions of physical attraction as opposed to talking about anger. What this leads to is lots of negative criticisms from your tutor. Phrases like so what, or confused, or what is your point, or unclear, poor structure, poor flow, lack of analysis, etc., etc. All of these things have come out as a result of me sitting down and thinking, researching, writing and editing all at the same time. Instead, we want to do these as separate stages. And the other videos and sources on this website will go through some of these stages. The writing stage is the simplest and the shortest and the quickest. Writing is nothing more than just putting words down. When you've done some research and you've thought about your topic, you just want to write. You don't want to worry about any mistakes or if it's clear or anything like that. You just want to write, put in the references which you've already gathered, you want to express the points which you've already thought of, and you just want to write. Just get those words out there. If you've done your research and you're thinking, the actual writing of a paragraph should only take 10, 15, 20 minutes. You just go and put the words down. It is in the process of editing where writing gets good. That is the skill of writing, is looking at each sentence, each word, cutting out the useless ones, changing the ones that are more clear to your point, controlling the language after you have just put the words down on a piece of paper. Editing is good writing. You can never get from just sitting at a table to writing out something well in one go. You have to go through a process of plonking some words down on paper and editing them into shape, editing them into something good. So, hopefully that might have made you think a little bit about the processes you use in writing, and maybe will highlight some areas where perhaps you need to strengthen some of those different stages. You need to make a more conscious, critical approach to your actual writing process. So thanks very much for watching, and please enjoy any other resources in the world.